Either YouTube is Petey Two Finger. I think I had showed you guys this before. It's a headphone amp that I made, which most of it is the power pack. There's a input and an output jack, and then this board here, which is a Max 4410, and that's actually like when you look that up, it says its sole purpose is a headphone driver IC. Interestingly enough, now I got this container here. This I keep ointment and band-aids in it, so when I get cut here, I was thinking about building something into this because it's so cute. Anyway, today this has been on my mind a lot for a few days. The problem is we make music here in the apartment, and we have a little mixer with an MP3 player that has a SD card. So I'll take that SD card out whenever I come up with new music. I'll pop it into my computer and I'll transfer over the new backing track and then put it back in the system that I built. And the MP3 decoder board has a play pause button as well as a fast forward rewind, which just skips tracks. It doesn't really fast forward. So I've cloned, basically I went in and soldered on that board and ran those out to 1/8 inch jacks, which go to a foot switch. So I am able to rewind a track, fast forward a track, pause a track, or play a track. I'm able to operate the MP3 player head unit hands free, which is really nice because we both got our hands full with instrument, playing our bass and our guitar, my wife and I. So it's this MP3 unit feeding into a little mixer. It does have an effects loop on it, which I ran into a Behringer reverb machine. So we can get, I have it set on a slapback echo, which I really like that sound. That's one sound on that Behringer reverb machine. They say, oh, it sucks tone. Well, you know what? On the effects loop, it's not really going to matter. So, and it's a stereo in, stereo out effect. So that pedal found a really good home with that. Now getting to the problem, the issue is I run the output of the mixer into this old Alesis, or do you say Alesis? Alesis headphone amp, which is a little like a half rack looking unit. It has a 12 volt AC power supply, and I actually went in there and cleaned it up because one of the pots was getting a little crackly. But it's a nice unit. I was gifted that unit. It's powerful. My wife's side of the headphones, it's frustrating because she keeps saying turn them down, and I get there's nothing to turn down. It's if I touch it, it's going to be off. So I have to find this spot that's between 0 and 0.0001 where she likes it, in between there on the low side of that. Anyway, I've always had this problem with headphones over the years where this ear, it's quiet. Like something's wrong with me. And this ear is much more sensitive, so when I put headphones on, it's way lopsided. So what I'm going to try is I purchased it's a PCB board. It's a circuit that I bought off of eBay for $3.50, and it has 2 chip slots for a chip called an NE5532. Now, anytime you buy a circuit from an audio circuit that says NE5532 and you're getting it off eBay, you can bet your bottom dollar that it's going to have a counterfeit NE5532 chip in it. And the way that I determined this was doing a current draw test, looking up how much current does an NE5532 draw, because the better quality the op amp, they draw a little bit more current. And I had looked at those statistics and was generally familiar with it. I know, forgive me, I know I've told this story before. It was pulling half of what a TLO72 was supposed to pull, which that's that's bad, because as far as the hierarchy of op amps go, the 5532 should be pulling like twice as much as what this thing was pulling. So I just ordered all kinds of hardware. It's like $30 worth of hardware to build a preamp box. And my plan is that I'm forgetting if this device that I ordered, it has a stereo pot on the board. So I will remove that pot, and then I'll cut in 2 mono pots, and I'll have individual adjusters for each channel, if that makes sense. Now, I can put this thing in between the mixer and the Alesis headphone amp if I really want to use that. I don't know. I gotta play around with it. I'm gonna see how does it sound on its own. You know, can it drive these headphones and sound good enough with a pair of Burr Brown OP21, whatever, the $4 op amp chip, because I purchased those. I purchased them. Building this thing, you know, it's going to be a little bit flexible, meaning I probably will have 1/4 inch and RCA inputs and outputs, as well as an 1/8 inch, so I don't have to use an adapter. I'll run an external battery pack, like on the roof of it. I'll run 3 18650 rechargeable lithium-ion cells, power switch, pink LED, independent volume tweakers, and Bob's your uncle. Now I have an AP 138 that has lesser current draw, I think, or voltage draw. I don't know. I've got the AP 138, I think it's called, coming, that board. I have one here. I think I have one. I have a Max 4410 board, and then I have this the dual 5532 chips, which I think that's really the best quality unit. But I certainly will be able to play around with this. Basically, if you look at the diagram of a headphone amp, right on the input they run a pair of potentiometers, and that's your volume control. So if you feel weird about, oh, I'm gonna buy, like, let's say you were gonna do this yourself, and you can get a more expensive unit that comes with the pre-mounted potentiometer on the PCB. You don't necessarily need that, because if you look at the schematic, it's right on the input are the pots. So you could buy the one without the pot and wire pots in between your input connector and the input on the circuit, and it will do the same thing. So that being said, you know, I'm into headphones, and the idea of having some headphone amplifiers around here is like I've got the Alesis, which has two outputs. There's two inputs that are on separate pots. So there's four pots and one set for each output. So it's like two headphone amps in one with a little mixer built in on it. It's really kind of neat. So in theory, if I can get the NE5532 board working as a preamp stage in between the mixer and the headphone amp, simply because I want to include the quality of this Alesis headphone amp, one of the things I could do is there is a headphone output on the mixer. So I could run that headphone output over to Gomti's channel on let's say 1, and then turn her one knob up to get her where she likes, turn the headphone knob down so I could get it past that crackle stage at the beginning of the pot's throw. There's always that, where it doesn't work so hot, or 1 year it'll be a little dry, a little 3 dB cool. And then take my regular normal output and run that into the NE5532, boost the right channel, goose that for my hearing issue, and then come out of that and go into the 2 channel on the 2 port, because it's in half. There's 1 output and a 2 output, and they each have their own pots for 1 and 2. Or I could go out of the main output in just how it's wired now, and then out of the headphone output into the NE5532, goose that 1 channel and go right out of the front, meaning use the NE5532 one I'm building as the actual headphone amp. Because a preamplifier and a headphone amplifier are the same thing. The preamp will drive the headphones, which is interesting. So all that being said, the stuff is all pretty cheap. I have I think it's an AD138 board. I've got another Max. You know what? I don't think I ordered the Max 410 because I've got the AD. So I got to see how this all works out. And if it basically, I'm going to be doing all the testing up front, and then I'm going to cut the chassis, because I bought myself a $6 chassis. I got a 125B, which I'm thinking, what's the runtime on these batteries? Do I want to mount them internally? I'll probably try to mount them internally, so you'll have to take it apart to put batteries in it. But I think running it off of 12 volts, I think I could get, probably a couple of months worth of use, at least. I don't think I will be changing it once a month. And I don't mind doing something like that, changing batteries. It's not that big of a deal. I could always mount it on the roof, so I could just plop them right in there. But if there's room for it, and that's another thing with all the jacks and everything in there, it might not be conducive. And I might want to run it off 12 and a half volts. I think that it's rated, or I know I saw one rating on these boards, on the Max 4410 board and on the AD138 or whatever it's called. Some of those were saying like 3.5 to 6 volts. Some were saying 3.5 to 12. Now, I believe running 3 18650s gets you around 12.5 volts. So at that point, I would include a reverse polarity protection diode to shave off, 0.7 volts. That's the one thing I want to try to remember. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting project. If this sounds like something you would want me to build for you, like if I would want my own custom headphone amp in a 125B powder coated chassis, I could easily put something like this together for you, but considering, the parts are around, it's around $35 just for the parts. It's not cheap, you know. But what you're getting is, it's an OP, it's a Burr Brown op amp. This isn't the $16, rechargeable headphone amp, the bottom end. This is a little bit better. That being said, I'm really excited about this project. I've been thinking about it nonstop, and my idea was to hack this thing together and then through like looking at it and looking and seeing that they're stereo pots, I was like, I could just unsolder that pot and then cut in a pair of pots and have it independent, because that's what I want. I want to be able to boost one channel. This isn't so much about like a high fidelity headphone amp experience, because I've got this Alesis headphone amp, which is a nice one. I've been in it. It's not cheap. It's really a well-made headphone amp. It's full of a lot of circuitry, so I think it's good. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'd have to look in there and see what the chips are and are they replaceable. But to be honest with you, it sounds really good. That's why I'm saying I'm pretty hot on that one. So I mean, headphone amps it's one of those things. I've been interested in this for a long time. I have a tube preamp, a stereo tube preamp, that if I want that tube experience with it, I'll just piggyback that on there. I know they sell the 6J H1 kits for $15. It's about 25, I think, if you get it with the clear plastic chassis. And that's more of a buffer, really, than a preamp. But hey, it's tube, And those are interesting, although for this application, I'm not really, the main thing that I'm looking for is to and the cheapest way to do this, honestly, would be to get I would say the Max 4410. That's what this is. Buy the Max 4410 and either wire the pots in independently between your input jacks and the input on the PCB, or get the Max 4410 model that comes with the dual potentiometer on the board. Remove that, solder 3 wires in on each side. Ohm it out. When you unsolder the pot, take your ohm meter and put it on opposite sides of each pot, and it'll tell you, is it a 10K? Is it a 50K? Is it a 100K? So basically what I did in ordering, I ordered a pair of 10K pots and a pair of 50K pots. Simply because I'm not sure what I have, and I like to just go ahead and buy. I mean, I've got a good amount of pots here in stock. But it's $1 for a pair of them. So when the unit comes, I will more than likely... the one that's coming that will be here first is the 5532, which has a pot on it. So I will remove that. I will put my probes on either side. There's 3 connectors on a pot. You go on the inside and the outside, and that will give you the complete ohm reading. And I'm guessing it's 10. I'm guessing it's a 10K. That's what's going to be on there, is a dual 10K pot. So then go ahead and wire it up, and on my input coming off of the input jack, I'll run it through that potentiometer on one on each side, and then go into the board, and that's it. I can basically use that as my headphone amp. Or if I hear that and I decide that it's a little bit lacking, or comparing it between running it in between the mixer and the Oasis headphone amp, or just as an end to itself as serving as a headphone amp, if I can hear a difference in that. So that's what's going on. It's an interesting thing. This one here, this Max 4410 unit, I love it. I absolutely love this headphone amp. It has I believe, I can't even see the integrated circuit chip. There's a header connector in the way, blocking my sight. I believe some of these have like a charge pump built into them, so they'll take a single supply voltage and split it off into a dual supply. Because studio gear is usually like 15 high, 15 low, or bipolar power supply. So that this circuit has that built in on it. I believe. I could be wrong. Yeah, this is the Max 4410 here. This is the one that I would say, if you want to try this yourself, you can. It's easy. This is really easy. You basically you clone the input and the output. There's a oh no, you don't even have to. There's header pins for the inputs and the outputs, and it comes with the little jacks. So you see these the two white rectangles there. Those are the header pins. There's three wires, and this is black, red, and yellow. And one set is for the input, and the other set is for the output. So those wires just run up to these jacks here, and then you connect the power supply, and it's got a built-in on-off jack on the volume control. Now the only thing that this does not have is an LED, and I got to tell you, if that was going to bother me, because in my case I did leave this on. I left it on twice and killed the batteries. What I would do is I would think turn the unit on and go underneath, find the where the big electrolytic capacitors are on there, and see what voltage you're getting off of there, and then tap a line into that. You may need a resistor to pat it down, but then connect an LED to that. And I really don't think it would affect the fidelity of it or anything. You know, you could cut an LED in on there for that. But I want to get into this, building these headphone amps. I want to have a couple of them. I mean, right now I've got these two. I'm going to build that one. And again, I don't know if it's going to go in between. It'll probably just be its own thing. The thing was, I ordered it, and then I'm thinking, oh gee, I bought it, and then I remembered they're selling this for $3, and the chip itself, that's how much the chip costs. So there's no way it can be an authentic chip, because there's two of them on the board. So it should be $6 price just for the chips, at minimum. Oh, wait a minute. No. The 5532, I think for a pair of those would be about $1.50. Really. I think they're like 60, 75 cents for those chips. But still, I know for a fact that Japan has a love affair with faking any 5532 chips. My joke is that when you look at the image on the chip, it says TI, Texas Instruments, and Texas doesn't look anything like, it looks like Long Island. Which I don't even know what I would think it's like, doesn't look like Texas. But my point is, I ordered this thing and I was all proud of myself because this has been driving me nuts. It's been driving me absolutely nuts. I've kind of got everything dialed in. I've got this killer new XMG30 and I programmed that so I have custom patches for my music and I'm able to turn on effects for the choruses of the songs and then change the effects for the verse with one button. It's really cool and it just sounds phenomenal. And then it's like I'm flipping my headphones and it's cockeyed. So it's like something's wrong with my ear, you know. So if I turn that up a little bit, maybe that's going to help. So this has been driving me nuts, and like I said, I went ahead and purchased this stuff, and then I'm like, oh man, it's coming with those fake chips. So I went over to Tata, and $30 later, I've ordered, everything to build this from the ground up, with all really nice components, a powder coated chassis. So it's a little bit more than I would like to have spent for what I'm going to get, but I'm not going to have to scrounge. And when I'm done, I've got something I can be really proud of that serves two different purposes. It could be a recording preamp, or it could be a headphone amplifier. So it's a cool, neat little thing. Again, I'm going to be doing more than one of these. I'm looking for small little chassis ideas. And I've got some boxes that the data switches, I've got those. They're just a little big for this, considering I made one that's a little smaller, So that's what's going on, and I will definitely keep you guys updated when the rubber meets the road about this. But I wanted to update you because I haven't really done any electronic stuff on here, and that was intentional. Now, I haven't done anything for a while, and I'm kind of getting a little bit of an itch, so this should fill the void for a while. All right, you guys, take care of yourselves. Try to stay cool, hug your pets, and peace.